No mai, haere mai, welcome to 3 News. The fight for the US presidency is back on. The man Trump calls Sleepy Joe has decided to give it a rest, saying he won't run for re-election, but he will finish his term as president. Joe Biden has already endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, invoking Jacinda Ardern's catchcry from 2017, "Let's do this." Harris said it's her intention to earn and win the nomination at the Democratic convention next month. US correspondent Mitch McCann begins our coverage.
For 24 days, Joe Biden refused to back down.
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
His decision was made, he said, and he wasn't going anywhere.
And the answer is because the job's not finished.
But in the end, Biden was finished, isolating with COVID-19 and increasingly isolated within his own party. The president, America's 46th, ended his bid for a second term in the Oval Office, and he did it on social media, reportedly just 1 minute after telling some of his most senior staff. He said, "It has been the greatest honour of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
Based on my conversation with former President Trump and his campaign allies, they are now evaluating this race in a totally different way. I have been told in the last few minutes ads are being prepared against Harris in case she emerges as the Democratic nominee.
In a separate post, only half an hour later, Biden backed his vice president, Kamala Harris, saying, "I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this."
There is some real sadness here at how this has played out and how this has occurred. But I'll also be honest, there is some relief here as well, because the growing consensus had been that Joe Biden simply could not win this race.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look,
the CNN debate was the beginning of the end for Biden.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done.
Biden knew the debate was a disaster and came out fighting the next day.
When you get knocked down, you get back up.
But days later, another catastrophic slip-up at the NATO summit in front of the world and powerful world leaders.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
President Putin.
He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
4 months, the signs of his frailty and mental decline have been clear to see. He pushed back against the withering conclusions of a report by Special Counsel Robert Hur.
In his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
He's already the oldest president in American history, but at 81, 5 decades of public service have taken their toll.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
All the encouragement couldn't quell questions about Biden's ability to beat Trump, whose survival of an assassination attempt boosted his popularity.
Take a look at what happened.
Stepping down seemed inevitable for Biden.
You did the right thing for this country. You did the right thing for this party. All of us are going to be in this situation someday, and I hope that we take a moment to honor this man and to love this man. I love Joe Biden.
While on the surface it might seem like a win of sorts for the Republicans that Joe Biden has decided to stand aside, it does present a new challenge for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Some in that party had hoped that Joe Biden would stay on until November's election in a few months' time, believing he would be easier to beat than a younger, new Democratic nominee. All eyes are on the vice president and how she will fare against Donald Trump if she secures the nomination. Kamala Harris issued a statement saying, "I am honoured to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." Joe Biden's legacy will be as the man who defeated Trump, but in the end had to make the most difficult decision in politics, walking away even when he thought he had more to give.
Well, Mitch joins us now. Kia ora, Mitch. Is Kamala Harris gaining any steam here? Is she receiving more support than Biden was?
Well, good evening, Sam. The New York Times says tonight this is a race reborn, and so far it has been a seamless succession to the top of the ticket for Kamala Harris after Joe Biden's decision to step down from the nomination earlier today. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The first one is the number of endorsements that Kamala Harris is receiving, especially from prominent Democrats, including people that some thought might run against her for the presidency. People like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who Tova spoke to last week in San Francisco when this was being discussed. He's decided to endorse Harris. And on the other side too, she is raising a whole lot of money. One of the leading Democratic fundraising websites called Act Blue said by 1 o'clock New Zealand time this afternoon, Kamala Harris had raised around $50 million US dollars. So she's getting a lot of endorsements and a lot of cash. But it's important to note, Sam, that throughout this administration, Kamala Harris has actually been deeply unpopular. At many points, her polling was lower than Joe Biden's. But it seems tonight, based on those endorsements and that money, things might be turning around for Harris.
It's fascinating, isn't it, Mitch? Now, Joe Biden endorsed Harris and then he said, let's do this. We're familiar with that. We've heard it. It is a very familiar catch cry for Kiwis.
It certainly is, Sam. It was Jacinda Ardern and the Labour Party's catchphrase in the 2017 election. Of course, I'm not sure Joe Biden knew that, but there will be an inevitability that people will compare Harris and Ardern. Of course, this is a very different situation, a very different country and parliamentary process, but they are both female leaders ascending to the top of the ticket over unpopular male leaders. It remains to be seen, though, whether Kamala Harris will have the success Jacinda Ardern had in 2017.
OK, Mitch, thanks so much. We'll come back to you again shortly for more analysis. Donald Trump has said Harris will be easier to beat than Joe Biden would have been. While she's hit back, calling him extreme. In a statement, she said, I will do everything in my power to defeat Donald Trump and his extreme Project 2025 agenda. Now, Project 2025 is the manifesto of conservative Republicans wanting to increase Trump's power as president and infuse the government and society with what they call Christian values. Zane Small explains.
Joe Biden will make history because of his age.
Elected to the US Senate at just 29, Joe Biden's age has come to define his career, now bowing out at age 81. But his life was also defined by tragedy. His first wife's car was hit by a truck in 1972. The couple's one-year-old daughter was killed. The two sons survived. Biden made several bids for the White House, in 2008 losing to Barack Obama, but later sworn in as his vice president.
The duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
Then at age 77, he was finally elected to the top job in 2021. But his opponent, Donald Trump, wouldn't accept the result, culminating in one of America's darkest days, the January 6 attempted insurrection. Stepping aside, Biden is now putting his faith in Vice President Kamala Harris. The highest-ranking female official in US history and a former Attorney General, Harris could become the first woman president of the United States.
I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
So who would you like to most run against if you're us, if we want to win? Ready? Kamala Harris.
The thought that we could have a president in the White House who thinks he's immune and able then to make decisions with that office that include weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political enemies or being a dictator on day one.
Harris has vowed to defeat Donald Trump and his extreme Project 2025 agenda. The 2025 Presidential Transition Project is a manifesto of ambitions conservative Americans have for the next White House administration. It proposes deleting terms like gender identity and reproductive rights from every piece of legislation. It also suggests banning pornography, sealing the border, and ultimately consolidating executive power.
He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it.
He wants us to believe he will not sign a national abortion ban. Look, enough with the gaslighting.
Harris already has some influential supporters. In a statement, Bill and Hillary Clinton said, "We are honoured to join the President in endorsing Vice President Harris and will do whatever we can to support her," adding, "Nothing has made us more worried for our country than the threat posed by a second Trump term." But other big names are yet to endorse Harris, including Obama and former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Both have voiced support for an open nomination at the Democratic National Convention next month, when we'll find out officially who goes up against Donald Trump.
Mitch is back with us now. Mitch, all of this just makes you wonder, should Biden perhaps just resign now and let Kamala Harris take over the presidency?
Yeah, it does make you wonder that, Sam, but I think it's extremely unlikely. Remember, Joe Biden didn't want to step down from the nomination. It really only happened because of all that pressure other Democrats put on him to do so. And those same Democrats are not asking him to resign the presidency. And of course, he has no ailment, a physical ailment that we know of, that would force him to do that. So I think Joe Biden wants to continue, or he said he wants to continue and finish his term. Although some Republicans, including, you guessed it, Donald Trump, say that he should be resigning, Sam, and saying that he should be stepping out of office for someone else. In fact, Donald Trump has sent a flood of social media posts tonight that I think you could describe as maybe out there. I think that would be fair to say, and I'm going to read you one of them now concerning the issue about Joe Biden stepping down. He said, "Who is running our country right now? It's not Crooked Joe. He has no idea where he is. If he can't run for office, he can't run our country." That's from Donald Trump, Sam, the same Donald Trump that was calling for unity just 7 days ago.
Things are really heating up. Mitch, thanks so much for that. Mitch McCann there live from New York.